we as a state have an obligation to make a decision for the people that can't make their own decisions freely because of their own security. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our reading of on today's debate. Moving on to the definitions. We define people that are over 18 years of age, so they are adults, and we see pop stars as actors, dancers, singers who are paid for it and do it on a very high level, so they usually are full employed or partially employed at the beginning of their career. So first of all, I will going to prove you why is it morally bad to get kids such a decision on themselves and it's high burden that they can't go for it. And then I will move on to my practical level of analysis. And my second speaker, Tim, is going to prove you why is it very bad for the children themselves on social level and why they can't socialize afterwards. So right now, kids aren't developing. We say that in the current status quo, the kids didn't get throughout the process of learning yet. So the reason why we aren't giving the battle of RAM or something to the kids is because of their own security, because we believe that they aren't able to handle it yet. We see that this is a crucial age when they should educate themselves, they should find out what they want to go for, and making the decision early on could be really harmful for them, that I will prove you in my future analysis. The main premise that we are working on with this debate that kids do not see long-term harms as they should. For instance, when I was 10 years old, I didn't want to go for school, I didn't like math, I wanted to drop out, and I wanted to play football. Well, suddenly if I would go for that, it won't be a good choice for me because probably I won't make it and I will be unhappy in the long run. But I will move on to why it's not only the decision of the kids. So, first of all, there is always someone pushing the kids to do so, and they are very easy to somehow put them into the situations that they have no other choice. Why? So first of all, their parents are usually putting them on these situations. For instance, One Direction was made by the fact that 500 people from Britain applied to Simon Cowell and wanted to go for it when they were 16. And they got it afterwards, and I will talk about Zayn and how his story went at my other argument. But it wasn't really good for him. So now, even the parents are pushing them into it, and we believe it's not fair from the parents to push them into it, because they are the ones they trust the most, and they will probably go for the decision for the sake of their own parents that they trust the most. And another fact is that society is pushing them into it. If not that only their friends are saying, well, you know how to sing, well, you should do it for your life, but even the benefits there are from there. They can see money in there, but they can't see the fact that they can't usually make it at the end of the day. So we say that as a government, we do not see that kids can make free decisions for themselves. Therefore, we stand that we are the ones who should take the responsibility, because if not their parents could handle it, we should protect them from their parents as well, and we should make it justifiable for the state to do it. So moving on to my practical level of analysis. So when you are a pop star, you work like an adult. You have a job. You are going for your concerts, for your dances, and you are doing this during your critical age, during your free time, during time that you could spend with your family, with with your friends. And the fact that happens is that suddenly you have no privacy, that you have media coverage everywhere, and you know that you feel the pressure that you cannot fail, and this is something that is a huge burden for the kids that could make them psychically disabled and make them harmed and unhappy in the long run. Another fact that happens when you are getting rid of the privacy is that mistakes are not allowed in your life. And this is something that we in our childhood should do. We should do all the mistakes. But the one, when it's going to be fatal one, the one that I am about to choose, my professional career of a sinner over my career of being in school, it's the decision that I'm making for a lifetime. And I'm not able to do that because I'm not mature enough to do that when I'm 15, 16, and 17. So, and that's the reason why we believe that we should make it. And now moving on, why it's the kids won't have moral and such a things. So if you imagine how the way the show business works like. Show business always aims for the profit. Show business always wants you to have a profit. They do not care about moral. In fact, show business cares about something else. They really care how you can make scandals, how you can make bad things. And show business life is basically a life that says you should do bad things because that's the things that people like. That's the reason why you are about to earn money. That's the reason why they're about to do that. So therefore you won't be morally correct. You won't go for moral things, but you will go for the bad things in your life. And we believe that this is not something that our kids should strike for. Moving on, that this decision is fatal because of the fact that when they drop out of school, they do not have any further education when they drop at a certain age. We could see that in case of Zayn. When he got to the One Direction, he dropped school instantly, and he wanted suddenly to become a manager when he got out of One Direction. But suddenly, nobody wanted him to be a manager because he didn't have any higher education, and he was unhappy about that. And he should remain as a single star who isn't working on something else. If you have any points of information, please go for it. Not yet. Alright. So, moving on, that this is something that we shouldn't make for our kids. Why? Because this is making a huge trap for them. And we as a state have right, we should protect them in every case. Because firstly, yeah, please go.
So you asked before that, you said like that the right of privacy is very important, but don't you think that you are interfering the right of privacy of those people the same with the government? Thank you.
No, we aren't intervening the right of privacy the same way as the government. We are basically saying that we are doing it for the sake of the kids to have happy life and not to fall into the trap that they would fall in afterwards. We are doing it for their own security. That's the way how we justify our decision to make. So what actually happens is that at the end of the day, children are trapped. What actually happens that if they are about to make their decision in this early age, they won't be happy because they will go for the case of the show business, and they won't have moral rights. They will see themselves as something that should never fail. They will see a huge burden on them, and therefore they will be always under the stress. And they will always see the burden that shouldn't be taken on them at the beginning. They won't be happy at the end of the day because they weren't mature enough to make the decisions by themselves. They were influenced by the others, and this is not something that we should do. And last thing that I proved in my speech is they can never escape out of this trap. Why? Because if they are about to do something else afterwards, as Zayn wanted to do, well, you suddenly can't. Because the trap already trapped you in. For the better society, for a better life of our kids, please vote pro.
I would like to start off my speech by saying that we believe that side proposition has made a major error in their case. Their entire case, their entire two first arguments rely on generalization. Now, they assume that these kids would inherently suffer stressful consequences, that they would not be successful. Where in actuality, that is not the case. You pointed out the case also. You said that these kids would drop out of school. Exactly why would they do this? Because you mentioned Zayn, okay, but he's a very specific case. There are cases of, let's say, Emma Watson or Daniel Radcliffe, who were in Harry Potter, yet simultaneously continued with their education. So if your case builds on the generalized assumption that they would not be successful, then your case holds no ground, no weight. Now you prove justification on these grounds. You said that imposement in their right to privacy, to express themselves, is justified because they inherently don't know what they're going into. Well, firstly, that's not the case. You said that parents would pressure them into going into this. That also is a very specific case, very specific example, and doesn't often happen. Why doesn't it often happen? Because, yes, please.
In the poor families where parents just simply don't have money, they often pressure their kids to do things which are beneficial for themselves. In some instances, this happens, and therefore we think that the irrational decision is not justified.
We aren't talking only about poor families. We're talking about every child that wishes to express their talents, via some platform and gain fame. So now, now I shall deliver our first two arguments. The first one being that imposement, to impose a minimum age for pop stars is unjustified and ineffective, which directly correlates with my negation of side opposition. The second one the second argument is that they present idols for the youth, and the third one, which will be presented by our second speaker, is that they adapt to pop star life by starting out young. So firstly, one of the major disputes we're seeing here is that you're saying that their goal is success. They wish to go into this on the promise of a successful life, where in actuality that is not the case. In actuality, kids, these children, wish to express themselves. They wish to do what they love. And we, such proposition...
Sir.
Yes, please.
Why can't you just do it as a hobby?
Well, because if you take a gig or something, because you wish to, I don't know, produce an album, because that makes you happy, for instance, of course there is profit to be made. However, that isn't the incentive that they go into this with. So first off, fame is a byproduct of their talent. Now, as I mentioned, they do not inherently hold a financial interest when considering a career that they are passionate about, because that is what passion means. They are passionate about it because they can express themselves, because it shows a side of their talent, because, I don't know.
Sure.
No, thank you. No, thank you. And furthermore, there is no guarantee in how things will carry out. And intruding in their privacy, intruding essentially in the right to do what they wish with the talent that they have, on the grounds that it might not come out okay, that it might not have the best outcome, is not justified. Because no, thank you. Because you interfere in someone's personal freedom, and on those grounds alone, imposement of a minimum age is unjustified. And furthermore, it is also ineffective. Because in modern days, we have a thing called social media. And if a child truly wants to express their talent, and I'm not talking about gigs anymore, I'm saying that the outbreak, the viral sensation of their talent that happened with Justin Bieber, for instance, would occur, no thank you, would occur unrelated or whether or not the minimum age would be imposed, because people would be interested in it. People will find it interesting. Therefore, someone would leak it to show the people their talent, or they would do it themselves. It is not like it's an everlasting and ever-posing mechanism you prepare. But now, secondly, pop stars gain. Secondly, that they present the idols for youth. Now, pop stars gain popularity by adhering to people that are young. Why is this so? Because young people find themselves, they relate themselves with pop stars that they're of course younger, because they see themselves in it, because it is easier to relate with someone of a similar age. Now there are multiple reasons for this. No, thank you. Let's say you're 14 years old. If you're 14 years old and you do not have a younger person to relate with on the higher social status, not social status, that is inherently famous or whatever, what would be sort of the consequence? No, thank you. What would be the consequence is that these children would not have role models, they would not have icons that they could look up to. What would happen is that they would see some 30-year-old washed up actors or actresses or used to be pop stars to talk about things as drugs, which are things that they cannot relate with. Furthermore, technology is also developing. We are seeing the rise of social media. And young people, these young people that we are talking about, are are more inclined to use these platforms because they will raise...
Sir,
yes, please.
So you mean that pink and people who are 20 or 30 can't use and do not use social media?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying this. I'm just saying that this correlates with my previous fact that I was talking about. If a 15-year-old girl finds herself in a 15-year-old celebrity pop star, and that person is active on social media, it achieves a greater effect than if a 30-year-old person is. So thank you. No, thank you. So what I was saying is that youth at this point have been raised with social platforms. They have presented a major part of their everyday lives. They present communication, and they essentially present education and experience in a way. If you don't have someone to connect with over this platform, then essentially it isn't as effective as it should be. But why is it even important for idols to exist? It is important because, as I mentioned, they present a form of support for younger people. What I mean by this is, I don't know, let's take a person who is currently diseased or whatever, or has some personal issues that they are not willing to disclose with their friends because they feel pressure from society or whatever, they do not feel free to do this. If they see themselves in a role model that does also experience similar things, that does also address similar things and opens up discussion about them, it is much easier for them to feel better for themselves. And it is also much easier for these young people to discuss such things on a level when they're already in a position when this sort of has impact not only on them but on the people that follow them, on the people that relate with them. Our side says that we should not impose private property on unjustified grounds, and that is why we're proud to oppose. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, in my speech I'm going to do several things. First of all, clarify what the case of team government was about and why we don't generalize people by groups. Then I would like to talk about the principle we brought to you and the government duty towards its citizens and mainly to the young generation, and then which side practically imposes better policy on these people. Then two substantive arguments about the environment they lose and objectification by itself. Let's look at the matter we presented to you in the first speech. We divided our case on the principle and practical ground, and the side of opposition absolutely did not understand the principle we brought to you. We told you that it's unjust to let kids do the decision they make irrationally. The example we used to was that the reason why we don't allow the kids, for example, at the age of 16, 17, to drink alcohol is not because it has tremendous harm on their lives. Everyone knows in the older ages, you know that cigarettes or these things are bad for your health. However, the point is that you make irrational decisions which are not fully informed. We believe that this is an issue because people make this decision which are not based on their logic and their long-term evidence. No, thank you. Therefore, we think that the government has its responsibility to act and make a decision for these people in order to help. Now, let's look exactly what they told you on this principle. The reaction they brought to you is that just simply some of them might succeed, and then some of the instances you just simply help these kids know what is the best for themselves. What we actually claim here is that there is a significant minority of cases when these kids don't make the decision by themselves. So we brought you several responses, team opposition absolutely regardless. That was about not having enough experience for that decision. You just simply don't know what is going to happen. You also talked about how the society pushes them further, and that's unjustified because it's not the decision on myself, it's the decision of someone else. And we don't think that the freedom of choice is something someone else should decide for yourself. That's the principle. Let's look at the matter of the practical argument. There were several responses by team opposition. First, they told you that there are many successful examples of people who were able to achieve goals. However, we first of all believe that this is only cherry picking because you brought us several examples, but you never analyzed why these individuals are able to succeed. We've proven you many analyses and explained you for the whole practical argument why it's not going to happen. We first showed you that the privacy matter is important because these kids are simply going to suffer. I also would like to extend the case by telling you that, you know, in these young ages, when you did some job, you know, I don't know, Justin Bieber posted a video on YouTube, and he was really proud of the work he did. However, the point when you read the comments, and there is an extreme hate on the social media, you're not satisfied with the job you have, and that's a tremendous impact on individuals we face. No, thank you. Let's look, the substantive they brought to you, and moreover, we also recognize the fact that by these analyses, we've proven you that many individuals are not able to succeed, and they fail. And in that point, when we're able to explain you that, we think that the negatives improve the benefits. What the government, the opposition brought in their substantive, and that was, first of all, that we just simply limit the freedom of these people. We absolutely don't believe so. There are three major points for that. First, You simply can't do these things as your hobby. We just simply think that it's bad that we have profit for kids doing some job. We explained it many times why it's so different. Secondly, we don't limit the talent of these people because we simply think that after you're 18 years old, you're able to do these things like when you're older. That means that you have a whole life in the future life to do these things, and it absolutely does not limit you. We just want to prevent the irrational decision by these people. Third point is the same, and that there is a distinction between what we do and what they actually do in the status quo. Because what the government does is that to a certain extent it limits the action. However, we've proven you that in the status quo we push these people to do things they actually don't want to make it, which actually makes them happy. We think that is tremendously bad. Then the last thing they actually, and the substantive was about the social media and how it actually helps these people. We think that one, that it's extremely bad for these young people because the social media, how I explained to you, in the matter of hate, it actually harms them when they're young because they're unable to deal with this problem. But secondly, usually that's simply a logical fallacy. No, thank you. Also, the elderly people are like people who are older than 18 are able to gain the success on the social media. Like, come on, Ronaldo or Lionel Messi have more likes on their Facebook page than Justin Bieber. That's simple.
Sir?
No, thank you. Now, to my own substantive. Here I would like to explain you on the principle and both practical linked to arguments. Let's first of all talk about the objectification of these kids and why it's extremely harmful for them. This argument also clashes with the passion they brought to you in their own substantive. We believe that it's not their decision, we proved it here. But what the point is that it's the decision and the acts of these kids actually make is managed by the managers, which only seek for the profit. They don't have any other incentive. They just want to employ these people, which will be beneficial for themselves. And what does that mean? That they often take kids which look familiar to the others. It means that the other kids listen more likely to them because they see a successful story of someone who is able to be better than the others due to the fact that in the young age he had a talent. Like kids like Justin Bieber, Selena Gomez, or guys from the One Direction. You see something familiar with them? All of them are actually beautiful. Some of them are hot. And that is the issue, because it's not the matter of talent. Many of these people just play on the playback. It's not their own talent. However, the issue is that people buy their products mainly on the image they present. And there are several issues with that. You simply objectify them on the principal matter in this moment, sir, because you just analogically put them as a matter of toys. There's nothing different with them. You just buy them for the image, not for the talent you see. And there is no personality deeper than that. I'm going to look at the matter of facts later, but before that, go ahead.
Can you give us a mechanism of that, how that happens, and why would that be so different, and it wouldn't happen like for talent? How can you differentiate with those, between those two decisions?
I already told you that, but okay, again, we told you that managers are able to misuse the irrationality and experience of these people. We also told you that kids, not kids, but people who are up to 18, they're able to react rationally and decide what is the best for themselves, what gives them the most happiness. That means that we are unable to misuse them. We explained that before. What is the issue is that this person loses his own dignity. It means that he simply does not have an incentive to work harder. He's not satisfied with the job he did. We think that is an inherent issue because he does not have any respect for himself and for his success. Last thing, that it's simply unjustified to misuse the kids for the sake of the profit, because you use their inexperience in order to gain the money for themselves, for yourself. We think it's a moral action to do. Okay, second argument I'd like to talk about, and that's an environment they lose. And here we see that the kids which go to the system of the profit, they simply lose two major things. And that's first of all the parents, those who ultimately, in all instances, in all failures, are here to support them. It doesn't matter what these kids do, whether it's a good thing or bad thing. They always respect their one. They always are here for them, and that means that if it means nothing can happen, they're able to help them. At the point when you put them in the manager, like in the hands of managers, it means that these people simply, that they don't see their parents so often, and that's an issue, because this is the childhood you have. It's not the childhood where you are unable to make mistakes. Childhood is here for the parents, which will be able to educate you and improve your life. Second thing is that you simply lose the matter of kids around you. When I was in the school, I was so happy that I was able to talk to the kids in my own age. It would mean that I was able to fall in true love, because they're not for the sake of profit or just looking good for the media. But my action was in order to have love and be happy by myself. And when they told you, in their own substantive argument about the relating to the substantive, we think that it's absolutely false on their side of the house, because they're able to do so. Two things to take from my speech. We think that it's a government duty to help its citizens, to provide them the best and act in front of them to limit the harms, and also we've shown you that it's not the best for the kids. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud to do it.
the main thing that proposition today is doing wrong is they're completely regardless about the motion, because we're talking about the policy that pop stars should be not younger people, and they're talking about the effects that are happening while people are pop stars, but are completely regardless of the same effects, are not only when people are young, but also when they are adults. Meaning, all of the effects that they have talked about today is actually the same things can always happen, even if you are adult or even if you are a child. And actually, we will prove, and we have already proven that actually, if we push these effects, harmless effects, of course we agree, into the childhood, we will actually get the better outcome, because we will get better pop stars, and we'll get better idols. Now, the first thing they said is the principle they are basing everything on is that the children today are irrational. The pop stars children are today irrational to make good decisions. Now, we completely agree, because of course being a pop star is pressure, because you are always objectified, as I pointed out. You are always the panic attacks you have are being sold or as profit, and we completely agree. But they never tell us how they are different, because when you are young and when you are adult. No, thank you. Because we are all people that have a defense mechanism, regardless if you are a child or adult, and we will always sell this. So they need to point out why the age is so different. No, thank you, to this effect. Because they have never proved to us that. They just say it's bad for the children, but they never say, but they always completely ignore it is also bad for the adults. And the second thing they say is that the society is more pushing these children than the adults. And yes, it's true, because when Justin Bieber posts a video on YouTube and he looks at the comments, he is now being it's society has a bad impact on him. And yes, all of that is true. We will actually prove to you later that all of these negative things will happen in either a way. If you are 14 or if you are 40, no, thank you. If you are 14 or 40, will actually be more important if this happens when you are young than if you are an adult. And the next thing they say is that the managers are actually pushing these children because they are young, and it's more of a bigger news if a young child does it, if a young child starts drinking alcohol and it's in the public eye of view. And we think that managers and they said to give us an example like Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, Selena Gomez, but I actually know these people more about their best-selling albums that are I don't know came out last year, and I do not know any of the things that of these people, of any feuds that they have. I know Taylor Swift of her songs that she had won Grammys for. And that is actually what we are. No, thank you. We are talking about. We are talking about that the talent will be more prepared when you are young, because if you're not that talent that you have, that talent you have passion for, that talent that you want to develop. If you only start doing that when you're 20 and you have no idea how the press is working, how everything is going on, then no, thank you. Your success will be smaller, and that is actually completely off the point, because we want to have better idols, better for the young people, and they're completely ignoring the fact that these idols are also impacting on the children. They never negate us they never tell us that we're wrong, that these idols are actually important, because the outsiders of our societies who maybe have no friends can actually find their problems in these idols. No, thank you, because if we're already talking about, I don't know, Selena Gomez, she has a disease, and if someone has also the disease, he can see that he's not alone, that there are also people that are more influenced, that have the same problems, and we are actually giving better idols in not only for themselves but also for the people that the audience is aiming at. Now, our argument is that adaptation to the pop star life, which is actually a part of with what have I already negated. Now, we all completely agree that yes, being a pop star has bad outcomes. You are being, especially girls are being sexualized icons. They are being mocked. There are rumors, and yes, we agree that sells. But we know that all of this will happen either way. We know Kim Kardashian, who is being always mocked, who is being always no thank you on everything she does today, just the same as any child does. And we believe that when you are being mocked, when this negative thing comes to you, you will develop a defensive mechanism. And we believe it's crucial that you develop that mechanism when you are a young child. Why? Because when we are children, our characters aren't completely developed yet. If we give that mechanism that will improve while we are young, we will actually develop this mechanism early on, and meaning we will have a better when the stars will already know how to deal with these things. They will focus their careers on better things. And if we're talking, and a best acquisition is, as our first speakers have already mentioned, Emma Watson. She was mocked as a child when she was in Harry Potter movies that she was very shallow as a girl, but she actually overcame that, and now she has a degree in Brown and is actually an ambassador in He for She movement. No, thank you. So we believe that if once you know how to deal with these things, you can improve your career, you can improve your talent, and you can embrace these things that happen, and you can have a better perspective. You can have a better icon. You can focus on making things that are important. And of course, the important thing is the talent we are spreading with this motion. And the next thing is that they say that these children will, because they are children, because they don't know how to deal with these things, that they are going to be, they will not know how to react on that, and they will start reaching for alcohol, for substances, and so on and so on. No, that's actually not true, because we have publicists that take care of these people, because the publicists are today, their jobs is to create the image of a person, and that image is important so that they're not completely alone. We're not having a child that is now having these fans and he can do whatever he wants. No, thank you. Now that he suddenly has some money that he can just spread around and do whatever he does. He can buy alcohol no matter what happens. We actually have these people, we actually have publicists that create their image, that help them to lead on what will happen. And that is actually crucial, because if we develop that at a young age, they will know how to actually become celebrities in adulthood. Because we have many examples of people that became celebrities in adulthood and have started reaching for drugs and all of that, which are, I don't know, Kanye and so on and so on. So the pressure that we give, the pressure that will come eventually, is always here, and what we have proven to you is that if we press that pressure in a young age, we can manage it better when the stars become adults, and they will have better ways to put their fame to good place.
So what side of opposition mainly accused us of in this debate, and what was their main rebuttal for most of the points they didn't tackle in their first speech, was that we didn't make these points actually so specific. Why this is specific about the child celebrities. So at the start of my speech, at the beginning, I want to do that. So basically we showed you why this is specific. And I think we showed you that good in our first speech and in the second speech. Why? So firstly, the things that are in a professional life, that are when you become a celebrity or a pop star, when you're an adult, won't destroy you. They don't have such an impact on you as if you're on a child. For example, the first point about the hate and about the whole that you can't make mistakes. Really, that you are losing a certain milestone in that you are losing that childhood to make those mistakes, that you are pressured, because if you will do that mistake, you will take hate for it. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that children are really emotional about these kind of things. That they are weak living beings. So we believe that in that case, this is very important to them. Secondly, education. We believe that this is the case exactly where this is so specific about children. Because if these children will drop out of school, or if they won't do school at the first, then they will never have another life. Then there's a trap which is happening there. No, thank you. There's a trap because for the whole of their life, their destiny is to be a pop star. We basically showed you that on all of our arguments, but I will show you that later during that speech. It was just like that. The second thing why this is so specific is because it's their decision. As an adult, you are deciding about your life because you've got that info and because no one's pushing you. This is very specific, and I will show that in our first class that was in this debate, which is about principle. We believe that they never really tackled the kind of our first stand in this debate, that the kids aren't doing irrational decisions, they do not get experiences, that they do not get the information base, and all that kind of thing which they could base the whole thing on. We believe in their case, they actually failed on that. We believe that even if we did lose the second point about parental pushing them, which I will show you later on that we did not, we still won that point, which is very important because even side of opposition said that these were minor cases. Meaning in major cases, they are not doing the right decision and they exactly don't know what kind of decision they are doing. Meaning that in this case, state has a responsibility to restrict you in that kind of cases. For example, the analogies that our second speaker showed you, really good about how state can restrict you in the case of smoking and alcohol and drugs. And the second thing about parents, really that yes, this may be not be the majority of cases, but really that these cases are tremendous. We believe that in these cases someone else is doing the decision for you, and it is the person that should be the closest to you. It is the person that should make good things for you. We believe that if parents are not able to do such a thing, and then they misuse their own children for their profit, then this is tremendous, and this is the case when the state should go and take actions over it. And the third thing which you showed you is objectification. And why we believe that this is special about the children, which will simply go rebuttal their second speech and their rebuttals on that, is that when this objectification happens in a really critical age which you do not choose. We believe that in that age you are making your own personality. You are becoming the person who you want to be. If you will be put in such a business, what is happening is that you will look at yourself as an object, not as a human being. That you are degraded, that you lose your dignity by it. And we believe that in that critical age, children should make their own personality, not based on that the other people looks at them as a hot toys which can sing. So the second thing which side of proposition mainly react on us was the practical. When they basically told you to most of our arguments that and especially in their second argument that the adaptation is good, that this is the best that children can adapt to that in that younger age. We believe that this is not good. What we showed you is that the life of show business is really hard. That life of show business is something which is not good for people and especially not good for children. We believe that we should protect these children from going into businesses in that younger age. And we believe that there are things that, if they will adapt on, are really bad. For example, that we will make human beings out of them, which think that making a scandal is the right thing to gain attention, is the right thing to gain that role, to gain that profit. We believe that we're basically making a real big harm on these children, that if we will put them into the profit, and if they will adapt to that, then that's like the worst thing that can happen. But what was very critical about the argument was that whole things that was another thing. Firstly, it was the hate that they didn't really contest, and the second was the education and the whole thing that you never really can get out of it. And we believe that in that case, what we showed you is that the children never really have time to make that education. We believe that Emma Watson is actually one of millions. She's the one that have education, and she's the one that is prayed for it, because that's not like how it usually goes. We believe that how it usually goes, that these people drop out of school, they basically don't have time for that. Or even if they stay at school. For example, I'm a celebrity and I'm not good at math. But I can't do that math, I can't do that homework and stuff, because I've got my professional career. Meaning that, what will you do to me, that if at the age of 18 or if at the age of 20 I will decide that I don't want to be in that business world anymore, I don't have any other option, because I didn't make the math at the school, and then I wasn't able to make the university. Meaning that this is creating a whole trap. This is creating a trap where people can't get out of, just because that one decision that we on a team government should protect. What I basically told you then was about the technology and the social media, which was basically the main argument on their side. And we believe that in this case, we showed you that on this specific case, we should show that they didn't show you how this is very specific to you being under 18 years old. We believe that how you now engage with the celebrities are on their, for example, political ideas, on their songs. Exactly, they prove that to you when in their second speech, their second speaker tells you that she doesn't know Taylor Swift because of her scandals and because of the other things, but because her songs. And that's why we believe that there isn't such a thing as that you will tend to listen more to people who are your age, but to people that you admire their work and stuff. So really that this is not mutually exclusive. That this is not exclusive only to that you will listen to someone who is 15-year-old. And we believe that even if they prove you that, we believe that we prove you so many disadvantages, that it is morally unjustified for some 15-year-old to have a role model in a 15-year-old who will lose her whole life just because of that. And because we proved you all of these things, because we proved you that this is morally unjustified, because we proved you that some people are even not making those irrational decisions, but that they are not making decisions at all. Because we proved you that this is bringing the whole society to the point where we are making toys out of people because we want to have a role models in them, that this is so bad that the government should go and take actions for it. Thank you.
From the side of proposition again, the judges, their competitors, I would like to continue with the clashes I have recognized in our debate, and I would like to incorporate the negation in those clashes. So the first thing they didn't do, and I would like to point that out, is they didn't tackle the right of privacy versus personal interference. So they didn't tackle our argument when we said that they're interfering with personal decisions of those persons, those young people who have decided to do something what makes them happy, what is fun for them, and by side makes money for them. So we think that's connected, but about that later. So, and they addressed our whole second argument based on idols just in third speech. So I think that was quite a strategical mistake in their case. So I would like to continue with four clashes I have recognized. First one is purpose of social media. Second one is parents, good and bad things. Third one is success and talent. And fourth one is experience and bad outcomes. So I would start with purpose of social media. So we agree that that's a way of communication among youth, but we disagree about what are those things that happen. We disagree about is it bad or is it good. We think it's good because it brings people closer to each other. It allows ideas to share a longer distance. So I mean, like people in Japan can tell something to someone in London today or tomorrow. You can speak with someone in Uganda if they have a Wi-Fi. Then the next thing is people that is necessary for spread information. So, like for example, one good example of the celebrity, which the pop star which did that, is Selena Gomez. Her disease was unknown before that, but when she no, thank you. When she came out, she raised awareness about this disease. So I think that's a very good thing because we are raising awareness about problems that wouldn't be tackled otherwise. The next thing, they have a big contradiction in their case because they said that one time they said that parents are forcing their children to do something which is not necessarily good for them, but on the other point they said that the same parents are making the decision for the children because that's the only logical and necessary way to do. So I think that's a big problem in their case because with that they actually are saying that one time parents are good and on the other time parents are bad. We think that parents are, no thank you, that parents are good. Why? Because they give support to those young pop stars. They help them grow, they help them become, no thank you, to become a responsible adult being. And they help them decide, they help them make them decisions with all their experience they have gained in their lives. So they help them decide, they are guiding them as the parent's role is. And no, thank you. Example of that is again Emma Watson. They will say that we have a very few amount of cases that we don't bring anyone else, but there are many of those. And we think that that is not the only thing. No, thank you. They have brought two cases in there, Zayn and Justin Bieber. So they're basically they have same number of examples as we do. Then the only bad thing we think, but we think that good things from parents are more important than that bad thing is that they can push children when there is need for money in the family. But we think that parents are still, it's their child, so they believe it's a biological thing that people believe that something what has their genetic material, it's in human's nature to protect it. So, it's basically,
Sir.
oh, thank you. So actually, we think that even if they would do that, they would still have the moral duty, as they said, they have the moral principle to not push them too much, because what parent would do that? I mean, if they do that, we have a services to save this, like Centers for Social Work. The third clash is success versus talent. So they claim that the only thing the young pop stars are doing this, what they're doing, is because of success, that they want money, that the managers want profit, that the stars are just abused for that. We disagree about that, because you cannot put there a person without any talent. You just can't do that, because we have a great we have people who judge those performances, who judge their art, who judge what they do. So we think that's actually not as they say it is. No, thank you. And that those persons are actually just doing something what they like. They're doing something what relaxes them. They're doing something what is important to them. So they can like sing, they can dance or something like that. But along with that, they gather some money. And we need to say that I don't know why would that be a bad thing. Because why you shouldn't be rewarded for something what you did good? Where is the logic?
Sure.
Yes.
You're rewarded not for the talent you did. You're not rewarded for the job you did. You're rewarded because you're a kid who is beautiful and the manager decided to engage you, not the others, not because of the talent.
No, again, you need to be talented to be put somewhere. I mean, which manager would blamage itself with putting a person who cannot sing and make a song with it? Who? Nobody, because everybody wants to have a good name, wants to keep a good name, good reputation, to can keep with the business. So actually the profit here is the regulator of what they claim that it's actually causing. So the profit regulates that, because if you want to keep making profit, you need to have those celebrities which are stable. And the last and fourth clash I have found is experience and bad outcomes. So what our side believes is that without experience, there is no personality. And what they claim is that because of bad experience, there shouldn't be any experience at all. They actually claim that when you are 18, let's forget that that's from the night to the morning thing, they are claiming that then you are like, then you will, with no experience, can go to that business and do that. If you want to do that. No, thank you. And we think that's bad, because you need experience to make even your personality.
Sir.
No, thank you. You have all those experience make us look as we look. So if you make tougher person through that. That's the thing that happened. That's the mechanism that exists, and we have put it out before. It is that it helps you build yourself. And why is that important? Because you're ready for an adult life before. You're not ready for adult life at the end of your childhood. You need to be prepared for the world that's waiting you outside. You shouldn't be caught in the nest, which is actually a cage for your whole childhood. You should be let free. You should be let to try to fly. And that's why I'm so glad that we are on the opposition side. Thank you.
I'm going to try to point out 3 points that why I believe that we have won this debate. The first main thing that we have talked about on this debate was the adaptation of these pop stars that we are creating. Now we have told you that these pop stars that are now being created are prepared for the next are prepared with the experience that they will get with these with being pop stars when even at a young age. They will now have an experience that they will need when they will develop to an adults and be still these pop stars, because we have told you that there are many cases that when people have become pop stars because they can only when they are adults, they actually have the worst outcome because they are not handling it better. And we have told you that there are examples of people that handled it better when they were acknowledged with these things that are happening at a young age. And also in this point, we have told you that these kids are not here alone, because there are publicists that are working out for these images, and that's why we believe that we have proved our point by saying that we are giving them an opportunity to have the talent that they want, to have the passion that they want, and we are telling them the risks at the beginning, so they know what they're getting into, and this is why we believe it's we have proven this point. The next thing is that we have not only told you that these are the stars that are not passionate, they have the talent that they can finally reach. We have also told you this has a big impact on the others, teenagers, on the others' children that do not feel good about themselves. And now with these icons that we are now creating, we have children that can relate to them, feel better about themselves, and be better included in the society because. And we also gave an example of Selena Gomez that has a disease, and now that there are people that can easily relate to her, and now this disease is being talked about, and this is not completely being ignored. Meaning, we have not only proven to you that we have better idols in the adulthood, but we also proven to you that this has a great impact on the society, on the next generation that we are creating. The last thing that we believe that we have won this debate with was that the representative told us that these children have irrational examples. There are irrational mistakes they do in their young age, and that completely ruins their next life. Now, we gave you an example, a legitimate young example that actually happened. Emma Watson, that did not get in that direction, and they told us that she's one in a million cases. That she's just one person, and then that she's one person that this happened. Meanwhile, there are millions of others that this never happened, but they never gave us an example when that happened. And that's why we believe that while we have an example proving to you that we are right, that there are people that are fooling their experience not only as the acting, but also as the education. They just tell us it's one in a million cases, and none of them will happen, and that does not usually happen. And that's why we believe that we have won this debate, because we have proven to you 3 points, and they failed to negate them. Thank you.
Just using an example is not a rebuttal. Just using an analogy for the whole principal argument is not a sufficient rebuttal, which rebuttals the argument. The side of opposition was just a shrinking and dropping boat. The principal argument they barely touched in the first speech was absolutely dropped in the second and the third, and then mainly just tackled in the reply speech. Their second speaker brought a new analysis of how that we need to specify the difference between children and the parent and the older ones. However, after the third speaker literally spent 0 seconds about this analysis. This inconsistency and the new analysis made the strategic mistakes in this debate. And what it escalated to was that first, team government absolutely won the principle of today's debate, that the government has to inherently act in order to help us is the young. But what the clash was in the end on the practical ground. And here we also win this debate. We believe that the end outcome you need to decide in the debate upon, not just the principle, but which side provides the best for the kids. Here we bring you 2 analyses on that. First, that overall the business by itself, the gain by the profits overall, makes a huge pressure on their kids, because they're unable to face the hate, no response to the opposition. We've shown you that we don't have any privacy, any matter which is so important for the people, and that means that there is no mistakes allowed, that they just feel bad about their lives, and they're unable to live happily, no response. The only thing they overall brought you was a huge logical fallacy, and I'm sorry that I'm saying you just in the reply speech, when they used many examples. However, the reason why we were not able to use these examples is because all the thousands of kids which were unable to succeed are not famous. And that's the reason why the opposition was bringing you these examples. However, we can also take some of the pockets. Let's look at this. Daniel Radcliffe, Beyonce, all of these were also having enabled things. And here this leads me to the principle, which was the claim and the most important thing here. The overall happiness of individual is by itself subjective. You cannot say which life is better, if Emma Watson, which is in the he for she campaign, or others. The point is this: the decision you make should be rational. And you should be the one who decides by itself. And at the point when team government opposition, the only response to the parents' decision was that we have the contradiction here. We tell you this. We don't think that parents are bad. They're actually important for the kids' development. However, at the point when kids do not decide for themselves, it's what is actually matters. We want the kids to decide for their own future life. We don't think it's mutually exclusive, and the contradiction is not here. Then, we also talk about things like in which conditions it's better for kids to develop, either by having kids and children and their own parents around or the managers. And we explain to you that, first, these managers just simply misuse them due to the sake of the profit. They don't like you. They don't have any emotional connections to you. The only thing they have is they want to gain you. And that's the reason they want you to act nude in some scenes. They want you to act hot. They want you to act cool. They force you to do something. And we don't think that team opposition, when they told you, well, these kids need to gain experience, right? We think that they absolutely failed to show you why these managers are going to be able to gain these experience for these kids. We were able to show you in our second substantive argument, no response by the way, to show you why it's better when the parents do that, when you're surrounded by your own friends and kids in school. Last thing they told you in the first speech, again, new thing, was that we did not engage with the personal freedom. One, the burden was on their side of the house. They need to show you why personal freedom is so important. They actually never did that. They never showed you the value by itself, why it's so important that you need to take care about that in your decision. But in my own second speech, I was able to show you 3 substantive analyses why we're able to limit that. One, because it's not their own decision, which also showing you that it's different from the decision that you limit, and not we're able to have things like hobbies and talent. So in the end of the day, team government was more consistent. They were not strategically bad, and then the matter of the analysis were more clear. We did not just specify examples. We were able to show you why the government needs to act. And that's the reason I'm very proud to propose.